I'd say it's safe to say we're gonna get as many people as we're gonna get. Um, just give me a second, Alice. You're gonna have to give me access to that document. So oh, there we go. Beautiful. All right. So yeah. I was just taking a second. So first off, we just want to kind of apologize for how some things went into the season. Like at the very beginning, we had a lot of planned content that was already completed. And we managed to get you guys into a lot of stuff right off the bat. But after that point, things kind of became difficult for the team. A big part of that was we lost a big section of our team, especially a lot of our storytellers. So for about the first 3 weeks, I believe King was our only storyteller, and a lot of the admins were kind of trying to make up for that, and we did scramble quite a bit. And I do want to apologize for that. And there's also been quite a bit of confusion, I think, that's been happening from a number of different sources. And part of that is definitely like the admin team. We've kind of been, as I said, scrambling. So a lot of what we've been trying to present, we haven't been able to present enough of it or be consistent enough. Because as you know, like RP is kind of a natural ebbing, flowing thing. And as the season goes on, people get different ideas about what's going on. That stuff can kind of overshadow what we're trying to give out. And there were also some administration problems we had, which I'll get into in a bit, that caused quite a bit of confusion, especially when it comes to like how the corruption works and things like that, and gatekeeping and a few other things. But I do want to say that like at this point, we've expanded our team pretty greatly. So a lot of people in the community know the crew over at Fizzle Fuse, Toxic, Flux, and the rest of them. And a few of them have become storytellers, and they've been doing a wicked job creating content and helping us get things organized, engaging with players more, things like that. And we have a number of other storytellers that are working on a whole bunch of different projects. And we're now able to catch up on the main story. So another issue with lack of content was after the initial stuff we had set up, we were falling behind on getting to the main story events because we were just scrambling the tickets, and our team was just way too small for how much volume we were dealing with. But we've mostly got all the tickets caught up with. Everything seems basically back on track at this point. This weekend, we're completing the first chapter, which should have been completed about 3 weeks ago, which is entirely our fault. Um, but after that completion, we're going to continue on with the main story. We've been prepping a ton of stuff for this weekend and for going forward as well. And we've got a really broad and awesome and motivated storytelling team that's on every day, getting stuff done, building stuff up, trying to make as much content for you guys as possible. We've organized our back end a lot better now, so we're hoping that we're going to be able to, give you the server you guys deserve, basically. Um, and we know that there has been some problems with that. So as far as the corruption mechanics go, I kind of want to start by just saying that there was kind of a snafu. So basically, what had happened is we had some mechanics for how the corruption worked, and then a player document started circulating that was very confusing, and even the staff had collected this document and people have been going off of it, and so we decided to go with that as well. And it got passed around way too much, and it just confused the hell out of everybody because what we had originally been doing and what was in the document wasn't the same, and that is totally our screw up. But that was a document that basically a player created from the community. And since we were under the impression most people had thought that corruption was working that way, we were passing it around. But then we came to the realization that that wasn't actually the case. So we've reworked that entire system. We've recreated a new document. We have story reasons why those changes are going to come into place, which are going to be presented at the event tomorrow. So there will be a major story event tomorrow that'll explain the changes with corruption and all that stuff, as well as we're just going to put out a document to explain how that works. So that's just to make everything a lot clearer for everyone. So there's no real confusion as to what's going on with that system. And also, the new system is kind of designed to give you guys a lot more agency as well. So part of that system is as you continuously get corrupted and things happen to your character, you have the agency over how that's going to affect you um, in game and how it's going to affect your character. Because honestly, like a system that is affecting your character and changing things that you guys don't have control of is a little power gamey. And honestly, we understand why that bothered quite a few people. But now we've structured in a way that it is consequences, but those consequences will be more determined by the players so that you can flesh your characters out better. And those consequences can contribute to your role play. Also, there were quite a few problems with gatekeeping and communication. Um, and that was it's always a broad issue. So gatekeeping is something that as a team we've been trying to actively avoid. But again, when we can't answer tickets fast enough and we don't have enough time to get out there and interact with you guys very much, we can't really set things straight. And then players going around having all their different ideas on how this stuff works, that kind of added to the confusion as well. And then many of the people we did reach out to as NPCs and in tickets and things like that, they weren't disseminating that information very well. And we realized that's like our screw up. We needed to just produce more content, be more consistent in explaining how this stuff works, and getting your guys' input and trying to make something that's going to be fun for everybody to play. Uh, and then another thing we wanted to talk about player agency. So we did have a few complaints about players feeling like they weren't able to influence anything, but our story is basically like we had a beginning designed, and then the middle and the outcomes of that story are basically quite loose. So we have a number of different directions things could go, but those outcomes are going to be entirely determined by the player base. So a lot of what was happening was basically setting up the main plot. And then once the main plot has been set up, which basically should be done on Saturday, that will be kind of the end of that phase. You guys basically have agency over the entire story. So depending on what directions you want to go with it, what kind of groups you want to interact with, what kind of NPCs you guys get interested in and kind of engage with, that's going to end up kind of pushing the narrative in different directions based on what you guys want to do. Because honestly, player agency is something we've always found is really, really important here. We really want you guys to be able to determine the fate of your own characters and the fate of the land and all that kind of thing. And especially with like last season's snafu of like losing a whole bunch of staff right at the end of the season and the season coming to a quick close. We just wanted to give you guys a story that you can play through. You can have your own agency. You can, determine what your characters do and what the outcomes are and what happens to your clans and what happens to the different kingdoms. And, you know, we want it all to be on you guys. Like, you guys are the heroes. And we really want to just hammer that point home. And we're going to try to do that on a narrative level as best as we possibly can. And then we also heard about quite a few concerns about favoritism, but I think that had mostly to do with the lack of being able to address the amount of tickets and the engagement. So that's I think the primary issue is that a lot of people were reaching out. We were getting back to people slowly. We were taking our time doing things because we were just, tackling ticket after ticket after ticket. And then we didn't really have a lot of opportunities to engage with the community in role play. And I don't necessarily think there was as much favoritism as a few people think there was. It was more just like a lack of engagement in general across the board. But there were a couple of different groups that got a lot of attention in tickets, especially, and they were putting in a remarkable amount of tickets. Like there are two clans that individually put out more tickets or put in more tickets than the entire community collectively combined. And we were playing catch up with them quite a bit. And that is kind of a form of favoritism, to be completely honest, because although they are reaching out to us more and we're answering the people who are reaching out more, we shouldn't have allowed that to kind of overshadow the people who don't want to throw in tickets. They just want to engage with NPCs and story events and just naturally ebb and flow their way through the world because that's really what we want to be happening as much as humanly possible. Um, so that being said, I would like to answer any questions you guys have about these main topics first. And then we're kind of just going to do like a question answer period at the end of it. So basically, this is like if you have questions about the team expansion, about corruption mechanics, about how we're tackling gatekeeping or any concerns you have there, player agency, concerns about favoritism, any of that stuff, bring that up right away. And if you have any other questions, Alice is tracking them. And at the end, we're going
Mm-hmm.
to just do a general questionnaire, go through all your questions, try to give you answers. If we don't have answers, we can brainstorm with you guys like ways that might work to handle any problems you guys may have noticed. Obviously, like we don't have perfect community outreach. Like we're all volunteers basically, and we're just trying to build the best server we can so you guys can have the best experience and just build your characters and tell your stories and hang out with your friends, have fun. All right, so I'm actually going to hand it over to the rest of the crew here to answer some questions. I'm going to switch my headset because I actually have some technological issues right now, but I'll be back in less than 5 minutes. But Chili and Sandian and Pi and Toxic, they can definitely answer any of your questions. Um, and Alice, if you want to just let them know what they should be answering, run it through them, and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I love you guys. You're
So,
a fucking wicked community. Love you.
all right. So we're okay. So here's gonna happen. Sandy, and I want you to just talk about the balancing stuff and what we discussed a few minutes
Are,
ago with your change
are
log, and we'll
we
get that
are
out
we
of the
doing
way.
the questions for this segment first, or are we going straight into the next one?
No, we'll do the okay. So we'll do your thing with the balancing bit to get that out of the way. Then we'll go to the uh postage questions, and then we'll go back to the chats questions.
Okay. So for balancing, I heard that some people were wondering what was going on and why there wasn't a change log. Major problems with Indrids and issues made changes happen a little more frequently than I liked. Also, it seems that a lot of tickets were put in for class changes non-RP wise. So whenever I was thinking or I've seen people do change logs, people will see that one class gets nerfed, one class gets buffed, they all start switching. Uh, we are addressing all of that. Um, Most nerfs and changes were only big to two classes, and all the other ones were minute changes upwards to the others. I've I kind of stayed away from a change log for a while due to the fact that people start putting in tickets to change as soon as they see something stronger. From this going forward, we have discussed, and we're going to go more back to a change log and then monitor on how people are re-rolling or clash changing off of those.
That's all in the name of transparency. So there's some more confusion about I'm not hitting hard enough anymore, or whatever other questions might arise from how the season goes. And so like I said, we're gonna go to the postage questions in that channel first, and then we'll start from the beginning with the chat, the live chat, just so it's out of the way.
And I've got the questions marked down from that chat if we want to just go them here.
Okay.
Or from the questions thread.
Right.
Okay.
All right, pick one.
I've got Feardar asked a question about how the story continues from here. Pretty much is wondering how to get everyone, if there's getting everyone on the same page, or if it just works itself out in time.
It's gonna be a Chilean Sandian question.
Yes, this is just kind of like I'm asking a question. Whoever wants to answer that is regarding to that question, they can answer.
Okay.
I'm sorry, about how we're going to move forward with the story.
Yes, pretty much.
So everything will be abundantly more clear after we have this upcoming event on Saturday. That's it's going to really push people to be like more on the same side of things, and it's going to be more clear on what we should do next.
To put it a little more simply, the purpose of both this meeting right now and then the event tomorrow is we're trying to get the train back on the tracks properly and get everything moving in a more smoother manner than it's been going, and hopefully alleviate concerns that have arisen.
Okay. Kira had a question with transparency of the whole no idea what's going on and not being sure of like getting forced into things, so not really having a desire to log in for fear of getting involved in things that they're not certain about. So however that wants to be adjusted.
So what is that, like a question of information or what?
That's
Garrett.
how
Go on.
Kira.
So is the from what I get to the question is how are we going to address it making it feel like we are forcing people into situations which make them uncomfortable, either by not knowing what's going on or that it doesn't make any sense to them. How are we going to? I believe this is how the question is trying
Yes,
to be.
that's what I
Yeah.
got from it.
So we do actually have a plan for that. So we've, as I said, we expanded our storyteller team quite drastically, and we're working with that team to set up a lot more NPCs and people that will engage with you, that will explain what's going on, lead you into the main story, give you information so that when you decide to, say, you wanted to join an NPC group or a faction, or you wanted to get involved in a storyline, there's going to be more NPCs around that will actively be able to engage with you and kind of talk to you about what their goals are, what the risks are, describe situations like that, deal with things like, you know, if you're feeling like under threat from a certain force or something like that, there's going to be a lot broader group that you can bring your issues to in character. And so if there's a situation going on with you, you can reach out to more of these NPCs and be able to get the information you need to be able to engage with the story and feel like there's ways of combating things and finding information when you need it. Does that kind of answer your question?
Kira, if you're still listening, that was for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, next one then, I guess.
Okay, next when Zorn is asking about repeatable dungeons, something where people can group together, just do a PvE thing and maybe get some cool things with mechanics for when stuff gets quote unquote stagnant or no RP is happening. And about not needing staff after the dungeon is set up because it runs itself.
That's something that we should be looking into, to be honest, and something similar to what whoever made the archives did there. Something similar like that we could certainly do. Should do.
Yeah, so I think going forward, the plan is more to have, like, in situations like that, NPCs that engage with you, kind of give you an idea of why you're doing these things. And we're also going to be including pre and post event announcements. So at the beginning of events, do what we've been doing in the past. So announce things, let you know what's going on, when the event's happening, kind of where it's happening. We're going to try to avoid like too much meta information beyond like the general scope of what's happening, so you guys can look into it beforehand. And then we're also going to be doing post-event announcements to kind of say like, this is what happened, this is what went down. After that first dungeon, we kind of realized that the rumor mill exploded, and we were getting all sorts of feedback of things that happened that didn't, and did that didn't, that did, and a whole bunch of things like that. People were confused why, say, parts of the library were destroyed or didn't have anything in them. But that's kind of stuff we want to be doing in the post-event announcements.
Can I
Yeah, add away.
I do know there was a question about events being announced and all that. And I know there was reasons for why nothing was being announced like most of the time beyond that masquerade thing. You want to elaborate on that? Because it had to do with like whole things just kept happening organically, basically.
Yeah, and that was basically what was happening in game, is that we'd kind of set it up that we wanted players to run things, but the issue with that is gatekeeping, of course. So like, say Valdroon gets involved and starts doing a bunch of stuff, and another clan's doing a bunch of stuff. They don't necessarily, it's not necessarily gatekeeping. Like, a lot of the time you're on at different times. You can't fill each other in into what's going on. And that was feeding into our events. But we're gonna try to make things a lot more structured. Like, we're aiming for weekly events, and then kind of weekly and bi-weekly midweek events that are a little less intense main storyline stuff, like doing more of the auctions and the fishing quests and things like that. So there's more of a variety of stuff for you guys to do. Also, as far as events go, we know that a lot of people don't like fighting. A lot of people don't like exploring. Like, each different player basically has their own play style. So we've kind of built a structure where we're going to try to include a lot of stuff for everybody. So if you want to like focus on just PvPing against admin class characters, there might be some of that at all the events. There's definitely going to be some combat, but there's also going to be exploration. There's going to be puzzles. There's going to be role playing interactions. We really want to expand it out so that we're giving the most variety of content in our events as possible, so that depending on what you want to do, there's always something for you to engage in. But say you're not a fighter, you can always, back off, let the fighters have their fun, and then do some role play before or after, or do some exploration or anything like that, information gathering beforehand. That's another reason we want to announce the events a little ahead of time, so that people can kind of look into what's going on.
Another thing to add on to that is, like I said earlier, most of it's been organically made and made happen and all that for the most part so far. So it's not that it was like planned events necessarily. I mean, most of the planned events have been spoken about in that World Events channel when players were setting it up. But what the players were setting up had to do with the main story and all that and all that. And the only real event that was announced was that masquerade way back when. But I'm not saying that was a good or bad thing that it just veered off of that. It's just that's just how it happened. It became players pushing things forward, and it just organically occurred and just got steamrolling there.
Yeah, and one of the issues with that is when player stories start going, sometimes that can add a lot of confusion as well. I know there was a lot of things that people thought were like main story planned events. And they kind of just they're organic player story. So sometimes you think, oh yeah, I'm going to get invited to every single event, but the reality is like a lot of you guys too have player stories where it's just completely organic. People will get involved as they get involved. Admins get involved because a lot of us have our own characters.
And there's even stuff that's been happening that some characters just wouldn't want to be a part of because their characters just wouldn't have any interest in it,
Hmm.
which
And we did
kind
have
of
that
feeds into the
a couple
gatekeeping
times.
thing. But that's just more so if for example, my goblin would have no interest in going to something that has to do primarily with like magic shit going on. For the most part, he doesn't care, you know.
Yeah.
An example of the whole like non fighting shit. It's not really a event. It wasn't really an event per se, but we built something. Because our end Flux built something somewhere for a bit of the story, but it had no fighting involved with it. It just had to do with going through a rotating maze that we came up with, and it plops you out to give you a giant lore drop at the end for things pertaining to what's going on. Stuff like that basically is what we're saying we'll do in the future. Instead of just, hey, I'm tough. I'm going to beat your ass now because I'm an admin. Less of that. All right, Alice, next one.
Okay, next question. There's like a few questions I've seen that also line up with this, but there is
Mhm.
the question was originally about when's the season going to end, but with this being the end of chapter 1 coming up soon, there is questions about is server going down between chapter 1 and chapter 2, or what exactly is going on between chapters. In other words,
Walker, did you
So
already mention that we're behind or?
I did, yeah. So we
Okay.
are a bit behind. The original plan was for 3 months. We might go a little over that, but as a team we talked and we don't want the season to be more than 4 months. Uh, but we're gonna still kind of aim for the 3 month mark and just try to produce way more content on a way more consistent basis and try to get you guys involved a lot more. Um, we're not really going for as much of a slow burn, and it's going to be more of a, during the week you can get investigations done, interact with NPCs, get your personal story stuff going, um, do your campfire RP because lots of us love our little campfire RP sessions, and try to make the weekends, at least Saturdays, maybe Sundays, depending on the week, a little more action packed. Um, we are trying to do some split events for people in the different time zones. The problem with that is that if it's major story events, like, if you're going to kill some big bad villain, he's not just going to come back later in the day to be killed again. So sadly, most of those events are going to have to be during prime time. So we tend to put out votes semi-regularly about what times work best for people because the community does shift and change over time. But I mean, really, the major stuff we're going to have to keep to prime time and try to just get other content for people who aren't in those prime hours.
I think we need to clarify when we're saying capture here.
yes, chapter is as in part of. So this is still technically season 4. This is just a second part of season 4. It's all in one
Yeah,
part.
so
They're all one thing.
yeah, it's all part of one season. So this is basically the first chapter, and then there's going to be the second chapter, which is going to it's going to involve many of the gods, especially from the base Conan lore. We have a whole bunch of content coming forward for all of them. There's going to be interactions with the different factions of them that exist in the lands and dealing with the different gods. Um, so yeah, that's gonna
Not gonna lie,
kind of
probably just
be.
gonna have to push it to 4 months at this rate.
I mean, we're thinking it. Yeah, right now we were thinking it would likely push to 4 months, but we're gonna try to, push out as much content as we can. So if we end up getting more done and more out to you guys than was originally in the plan, then I mean, so be it. Maybe the season will end early. It also depends on player choice and action. What you guys do will really determine what's going to happen going forward in the story. So, I mean, there are quite a lot of factors there, but we're going to aim for 3 months and probably say closer to 4.
I'm gonna clarify the chapter bit again. So, for example, chapter 1 was the whole Knoll and mage shit going on currently that just got pretty much resolved, save for what's going on tomorrow. If that makes more sense. And then going into whatever they're doing for the next chapter will be that next part of the story. Hopefully that clears that up a bit more. But anyway, we need to get this going. What's the next one?
The another question was about the server-wide announcements when events are happening, but they don't pop up on the Discord. And
So again, with that, like I said earlier, that was mostly because it was player-driven events going on with that, and the only real event was the masquerade way back when. We're trying to do things a little differently now to make them more known. But yeah, we already answered that pretty much.
Yeah, and like Chili and Sandian are saying, there's not going to be a map wipe or anything. Chapter 1 is literally just the first stage of the story, so this was kind of planned stuff that was going to execute. And depending on what you guys have done and what you're going to do this weekend, will kind of determine the end of chapter 1, which has a lot to do with the three kingdoms and the three leaders. But then going forward after that, um, it's going to slightly shift, where it's going to be more about what the players are doing, who the players want to back, where you guys are putting your effort. That's kind of where we're going to start focusing things. And we've got dedicated storytellers for different areas. Like, for example, as Toxic was saying, like Flux has done a ton of work um, with a certain group connected to certain things that is quite interesting. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but he's
Basically, you're
done a
taking
great
over a
job with
section of
that.
the story and all that.
Exactly. Buffy's taken over a section of her story. Ivo, so Light, she's got a huge section of story she's working on with that Alice is helping
yep.
her with.
And then
Um,
collectively, it all comes together in the end, some way, somehow.
yeah.
Yes, it
And
all.
then Zero and I are working on a big plot line with a couple of major factions as well. So,
All right, moving on.
yeah.
And there was questions about food and drink meters. Felt like they were really small and like stuff like that.
That keeps getting brought up. I don't know why nobody
Sorry, you want to
answers
repeat
that.
that?
It's
No,
the food and drink meters. That thing's been up for like a month or two now. People ask about it, and
Why
nobody answered it.
it was brought up, put in the back end, and then it seemed like it went off, and then put it in the back end again, put it on the server, and then it went off. It seems to keep reverting back. We will look into it again and I'll talk to the back end team about it again and see if we can get it changed again.
So
Because
to clarify,
it's
you did move it and
yeah,
change it, but then it just reverted back.
yep.
Nice. Good old Conan. Anyway, next
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
Actually, hold on a second. So to clarify that, yes, the meters are gonna be fixed, and you won't get thirsty and hungry as much
Yeah.
as soon as that gets figured out how to do that properly. So I guess it wasn't ignored, but nobody actually posted that it was changed, I guess, or something. I don't know. Anyway, next question.
Okay, so there's another question that had came up about the whole changelog with the class changes. How that would end up leading to people playing characters for the character or playing characters for the min-max PvP setup things, and what exactly would be done to monitor that?
I mean, people are going to play how they're going to play. To be honest, if they're going for that, that's on them at that point. But we're going to be discussing a means of regulating that. I can't say what is going to be what the end conclusion of that's going to be because it's still a discussion we have to have and get approved to do about that. So I
Yeah,
can't
like,
give you a definitive answer.
yeah, the majority of the teams kind of agreed on how we're going to handle that. We just need to basically run it by Khaleesi and a couple other people in the senior team, and we're also going over the rules. So we are going to be updating the rules fairly soon. We will do an announcement when we do that. It's mostly just a few tweaks here and there, a few things to keep it fair. But as far as class changing goes, generally we require you to have RP reasons to change your class anyways. So if you're literally, a Valdrunian worshiper of Amir who spends all his time praying to Amir and you're like, oh, well, I want to be a blackguard because power gaming, we're just going to say no. So, I mean, as far as that goes, like, you need to have RP reasons. Now, that being said, like, there are people who do like really optimizing their kits and being extremely good fighters and having an edge on people. And they do get rewarded for that kind of behavior basically in any video game. So, I mean, that's just kind of the nature of having people who like to do that stuff. But again, our community isn't really PvP oriented. Like, we have PvP stuff. We definitely have PvA events. People definitely love to spar. Like, I'm one of them, even though I've been getting my ass kicked all season. But yeah, I mean, that's not the focus. The focus is RP. So
Walker, what class are you again?
I was a mage, but I was not using magic, so that's why I
What
was
are you
getting
now, and
slapped.
you're still losing?
I think I'm a barbarian, but I've
No,
only fought
you're a blackguard.
Corvax.
You're blackguard.
Oh, and black. I haven't fought anybody since I
Yeah,
switched
you're
to
a black.
Blackguard, though. So.
You lost to
Yeah,
what's it?
yeah.
Corvax. Yeah, Corvax. That's what you were losing to. Corvax cheats, just so you guys know.
Nah,
I'm just kidding.
Corvax
He's
just
great.
spars constantly. He's good.
Yeah, Corvax cheats. He wears my glasses. I give him, so it makes him better.
Yeah, it just gives him plus 20 to every stat. That's what they actually do.
And nobody knows I've been giving out these glasses all season. They just make everyone stronger, and they don't use them.
Yeah, you got to put them on and taught, but trust me, it works.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, next one.
Okay, so there was a question I saw about the whole communication with big story events, like the Cod and B stuff that's been happening. How it was, I believe Ezekiel was the one who asked about the big issue being like communication, especially for like people in the EU over the pond who it's later, like not having as much.
So a matter of spreading the information that whatever happened there happened.
Yeah, or like trying to have a way for it to be like, hey, this is gonna happen at this point. So then, like, people who are over the pond and aren't in the same time zone have like, okay, maybe I need to stay up a bit later this certain night if I can, or like stuff like that.
Okay, as far as spreading
Well,
the information about the stuff that has happened, we already plan to be doing that with NPCs and other means like the Fizzle Fuse newspaper, something similar like that, basically, to spread the information. As far as the actual event times, that's a Walker thing.
yeah, so events, that's what we were saying. So some of them, like major story events that are going on, are going to be things like, fight this big boss, and when you kill him, he's got to die because it really sucks showing up to an event, doing all this work, fighting some villain that you're personally aligned against, and then he just returns to fight a different group of people, and they get the win. But things like, for example, the Calden Re stuff, we've got active plans to be able to make those events more accessible for people. So with the Calden Re thing, we're working with a couple of players who want to help kind of the citizenry of Caldenry, and we do have a storyline kind of set up for that. My character Vorus is going to be involved as well. So we're going to be doing some supply drops and things like that going forward. Events like that we can kind of spread out to different people. And then if you're also in not the greatest time zone, it's not a bad idea. Like we can set up these events as often as we can for more time zones, but if you are in a different time zone and you feel like you're not getting any interaction because of it, just throw in a player story ticket and just talk to us about, when your availability is, what's going on with you, what kind of times really work for you. Because we can get player story going for you. We can try to tie you into other people's events that have similar things going on to what you're dealing with, that kind of thing. So we're always willing to work with all the players that come to us in tickets, of course.
All right, moving on.
Okay, and then there. So then the most of the questions have been answered that are in the community meeting questions, except for the only thing that's really left over at the moment is talk of quote unquote gatekeeping versus like quote unquote fail RP. And feeling
Okay,
like
so yeah, fail RP and gatekeeping is an issue. Even I encountered this recently in my own player story where someone basically just left mid emote. And to be completely honest, it's a person I know how they role play and what their pace is and all that kind of thing. So I didn't put in a ticket, which is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. Because a lot of fail RP is people not knowing what they're supposed to be doing. So to tackle that side of it, we can reach out in tickets. If people are fail RPing purposely and hurting the experience, destroying the immersion, actively being hostile with their fail RP, that's also something we want to deal with. So whenever you see that stuff, please put in a ticket. We want to address that stuff as it happens as often as possible, but the admin team can't be everywhere at once. We can deal with all the situations that come to us, but a lot of the time this stuff happens outside of our awareness. So if you guys are really active about, sending us these reports, letting us know when fail RP is happening, even if it's us as the admins, we really, really appreciate that because we're
Um,
not going to treat any of the admins any differently from any other player when it comes to the in-game rules. And as far
I
as gatekeep,
uh,
oh, go ahead.
the question is not more of it's basically that people are calling it fail RP or gatekeeping, and it's technically not. It's a character that just won't tell you the information. So, like people falsely
Oh,
accusing or saying that people are gatekeeping or fail RPing by not telling you what their character knows every aspect of it. It's not basically, we can't tell people to tell you everything they know. Characters
exactly.
are secretive, groups are secretive. That's just how it is. We're as a team are going to try to push out better information in libraries. Libraries are popping up all over the place. We're going to try to do more of just NPCs being around giving out the information. So technically, those types of groups that are more secretive and are more aloof with the information don't have to try to break character to satisfy everybody on the server. That's our job. We are going to
Mhm.
put out the information, so there isn't as much of the people thinking it's being gate kept. We're going to try to tackle all of that.
To put it
Yeah, and just
simply, you guys will get the information one way or another. What you guys do with the information, that's on you at that point.
yeah, and so
yeah.
to reiterate that, go into a little more detail. We have a way bigger storyteller team. More NPCs are going to be interacting with more people more often. If you didn't know that you can do this, you can go to places like the archives, like the Ethereum library, like the library involved Drune. depending on what happens with Calvinry, getting back into that library and putting in story tickets to do research yourself. So a lot of people in the community do this. I don't know if it's widely disseminated that you can do that, but you certainly can go to libraries and research things that have to do with lore, storytelling, characters, all kinds of different things. Basically, whatever you need.
And then there
I
is
mean,
the
not that the
expansion of
answers are always going to be there, but we're not going to reveal the main story because you open a book, but we will try to feed you the information you need to continue with the story.
yeah, and then the expansion of that was also like feeling like some people want everything at the beginning and the story ends up being too quick for what it should be for some people as well, without putting out the effort to get to the conclusion.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of a play style situation, which is slow burn versus fast burn. Depending on how much content we have to for a story, some stories are kind of designed to go through quite quickly. Some are a little more slow burn. When it comes to player stories, you guys can kind of set that up for yourself. So if you give us a timeline, like when you open a player story and you're like, this is my character, this is what I want to do with them. I kind of want to do it over a couple of weeks with a couple events. That really helps us for the pacing for your player story stuff. For the major events in the main story, it has been kind of slow burn at this point because we're backed up quite a bit, or we're backed up quite a bit. But now at this point, we're ready to push the story forward at a pretty consistent pace of having major events weekly, and then the minor side events we're talking about that will be midweek or on Sundays and things like that. Those probably won't contribute to the main story as much. Certainly, information will trade hands, and people will role play, get to know each other, share things, push their player stories, things like that at those events. But yeah, the pace of the story is basically going to be who gets what done. But at the same time, we've had some blowback. So one of the issues that we've had is some players want instantaneous gratification. So they'll go out and they'll expect all the answers right now. And then some people don't want any answers for a very long period of time. But like we've kind of set a pace for the story. So really, like if you're one of those people who just wants it like right now, right now, right now, all the time, constant, highly immersive storytelling, like a DM's following you around all day long, like that's just really not realistic, because we only have so much time and we have a huge community, and we want to try to cater to as many people as possible. And on the other side, like things will continuously progress, kind of whether you're on or not, at the pace of the server, so that everybody can keep getting content. So that's something you kind of just have to work with us with. And we're not going to try to set the pace so quickly that you feel like you're all lost and left behind. And we do want to do those post event announcements, so that you kind of get an idea of like, this is the event, and then the post announcement will be like, well, this is how it turned out. So even if you have to take a week or two off, or you don't run into the right people, you can still get a story as to what happened. um, like for example, had we done one for the dungeon archives, it would have been, Drasould was crushed by a rock, which was pretty tragic RP for a lot of people. The betrayal of the mages, um, Tora seemingly handing over the artifacts to them, and people suspecting her of possible treachery, even though she denied it. Little things like that, just to keep you guys caught up on the major key events that happen, so you don't get completely lost.
Is at the end of the answer for that question?
I believe so. And also with gatekeeping, I know we talked about it quite a bit already with the expanded storytelling team. But if you do feel like you're left behind, like you can always throw in a story ticket to try and get caught up in different areas. And we can help you do that. Like that's what we're here for.
And okay,
I'm gonna
the
insert one. Are you gonna say question or?
Oh yeah, I was gonna have next question if there's nothing
was-
left, but if
I
you've
was-
got stuff to add to that, you can do that.
No, but I was going to answer a question that was just sent to me. As a player who has no magic abilities, the story does not feel very physical playstyle. I'm just reading this as it's written. Does not feel very physical playstyle friendly. Are we going to have any chance that in the story that doesn't involve magic?
Yeah, even the event tomorrow. There are things necessary that if only magic users show up, certainly it's going to make things difficult to impossible to complete. So, um, I would certainly say there's definitely going to be content. I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, a lot of people know that Boris is a mage, but like he does not cast any offensive magic at all. He knows a lot about magic. He uses sorcery, like ancient Conan sorcery. But beyond that, he doesn't really use magic. He's more of a physical character. I prefer the more physical interactions. Conan, the game, is built on a character that's entirely physical. It has no magic. It's something we've talked in the staff team about a ton because the majority of servers I find tend to cater to magic. We want to try catering more to more people. Like we had a section where there was someone tracking someone and they didn't use magic, nothing like that. They were just looking for tracks. That's who their character is. They're a ranger. And we wanted to include that content so that they could go out and track down one of the enemies.
And
And things like Karnas having to rip the portal open at the archives, things like that. So we have included a bit, but we're trying to include more to make it more feasible to be just a physical character, so you don't feel like you're just sitting in the back waiting for the magic users to pass a check.
as another example is a thing Flux and Aster made for the bit that they've been working on. It's purely a puzzle and reading and shit like that. It's an investigation. It's not. There's no magic in the thing they built at all. It's just using your brain basically. And then I can relate to the question as well because when I played here briefly in season one, I was playing just a regular orc warrior, no magic at all, and I myself was feeling like all I'm here for is to hit things, and I'm not really having a good time. This is kind of boring actually. While I'm watching all the magic users do their thing with their knowledge of the arcane and doing all their whatever they were doing and all that. So I can relate to that. I I mean I could have if I was playing a magic character I could have certainly piped in, but I wasn't. So I was kind of sitting there on my ass waiting to hit something again and again and again, and then eventually I just got bored and left at that point because you know.
And I mean, the staff did get better in season 3. I mean, season 3 I was a player and I played Boris, and I never felt like there was anything that I needed magic for unless it was a player story, and generally I had a lot of people to reach out. So I want to keep the heart of that alive. Pi is extremely good at writing stories that you don't need magic for. Um, I had to do tons of investigations and spycraft and breaking into buildings and sneaking past guards, and I really want to keep that stuff going. Um, yeah, as much as possible, and including things like that in events as well. But also, like, if you're a character who wants player story that's not going to be connected to magic, that's really easy for us to do. And then, yeah, again, in events, we're going to try to focus on putting a more variety of stuff in.
All right, moving on. Alice.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I was trying to find the question the chat moved. There is okay. Where was it was a really good question too. Um Oh,
What
there
is
we
it?
go. Now I found it again. It was over in the questions forum. Okay, so there's a few there's a questions about the flight stamina issues apparently. So
Flight
like
stamina.
yeah, so the carpets and brooms and like flying in general. Okay, yeah.
Um,
There's gonna be more explanation come up.
Okay, I mean, either Sandy and I could talk about this. So the brooms and the carpets are in a mod that it's really hard to balance the flight speed to. And when we're changing the
This is
flight
stamina.
speed, oh, this is stamina. I mean,
Yeah,
does
like
Yeah,
your
they're
stamina
saying
go
the
away when you
stamina
fly?
goes away on the broom and carpets, and it's not going away as
Alice,
fast
can you
when
type
they're
me in this one?
naturally flying.
Oh, interesting.
Uh, Basically for the natural flying, it's supposed to go. Oh wait,
Oh, I
hold.
found it.
Yeah.
So how it's worded is, how come when you don't have flight as race or whatever, you don't get charged stamina, but those with it tend to fall out of the sky? Not sure if that was intended, but it's applying to carpets and brooms as well. And I was able to figure out okay, that's a different thing. Never mind. So sticking to the first one.
Yeah,
I don't know how that
stamina
works.
loss. Stamina loss changes depending on if the character's race has flight or not, with brooms and carpets or flying.
We
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah, so
any real control over the stamina loss on brooms and carpets. If it's getting affected, I've not changed the stamina of brooms or people at all.
I
I've not.
can
It's
I
been
can say from the player
1%.
side that you will, if you hold sprint, it will use more stamina, but you won't go faster.
Well, yeah, I don't ever hit sprint. Um, but I've not adjusted stamina usage on flight at all. It says like practically nothing right now. I think it's like 1% stamina usage, unless you're hitting sprint, of course.
And then as far as the broom and carpet versus a flying mount or injured, so the broom and carpet are from Exile Extremes, I believe, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the
yeah,
I see it. I see it wild. Um, and then then there's Injured's Flight, which is a whole other thing altogether. Um, so it's
Yeah.
two separate mods. I mean, I'm pretty sure
Hopefully,
you I'm pretty sure you guys can't like fudge it to make yourselves faster, but I do know the broom and carpet are fast as fuck.
oh yeah. We've tried to adjust base injured flight speed. It does not work. I put it up to 10,000. You guys did not fly any faster. So it it just doesn't work. There's too many broken things in injured. Every time I try to, address we're not flying fast enough naturally, I couldn't do anything about it. I upped it, I lowered it. It doesn't change what you do. So that your natural flight speed is what injured has it as at their base.
And like
Because
Walker already said, I
ideally,
think
we wanted everybody to be the same speed. Because it's like everyone knows how much of a pain in the ass it is. Like you jump on your carpet and you fly, and then you've got a demon following you, and you have to keep stopping repeatedly. You can't have a conversation when you're flying anywhere. It is just kind of a pain. But Indrids is doing some major updates this year, including adding mastery and a whole number of other things. So I don't know. We're
so.
kind of
What I'll
hoping
say
that.
is, Wild, if you have some insight to share, can you just make a tick and tag Sandy
yeah,
in it?
yeah. But just like general
Mhm.
support.
Yeah, it'd be great because anything we can fix, we would really, really like to.
Yeah, if you know something we don't know, we want to know. Anyway,
Yes.
moving on.
Also, yeah, so to reiterate on the NPCs thing, we're going to have more NPCs in the world that you can interact with more regularly to get more information to avoid the gatekeeping stuff. So there will be other sources of information. We have had a lot of complaints that certain clans were gatekeeping a lot of knowledge and information, and we just want to try to make it accessible to everybody. So anything major that really any clan finds out about that's main story related will be accessible through things like NPCs. Um, Sometimes we'll sneak it into personal stories. Some of it will be available in libraries, things like that. Because we really don't want that gatekeeping happening. That's been a huge issue for us all season.
There was other questions in that same thread.
Yeah.
Never able to figure this out, but the fish you get from fishing, are they sellable? Yes, they are
Yes.
sellable. I know there's one at the Fizzle Fuse dock. Is there one in Valdrun as well? A vendor.
There
Yes,
is, yes.
there's a fishing shack next to the longhouse.
All right.
It is, yes. Over
All
by
right.
the fishing area.
All right. As far as selling fish goes, from using the fishing chair, there is a fish, a literal fish dude on the Fizzle Fuse dock, to sell to, and then there's one in Valdrun as well on their dock to sell to as well. Next.
The fishmonger in Valdrun isn't on their dock. He's got his own little fishing house near the longhouse and the fire, just on the water. Should be pretty
Okay.
easy to find.
Yeah. Point being, there's two vendors to sell them to, and they're in Valdrun and Fizzle Fuse. Anyway, I think that was it in that. Oh, were the brooms and carpets taken away? If so, why do people still have them when others can't have them? So they were taken away originally for what we already discussed as far as the flight speed balancing problem with no solution currently. As far as people still having them, that's a Walker question.
Well, actually, they're on a rotating stock, so the flying mounts all rotate every couple of weeks, and the broom and the magic carpet just haven't been in there. But there
Full
is other
disclaimer,
stuff
I
in
never knew
there.
this.
Yeah, yeah. So that we do rotate that stock out. I don't know what Zero has in there right now, but yeah, we can definitely talk about rotating it back in at one point.
Okay, that's not at all what I knew, but okay. I guess the stock rotates, guys.
Yeah,
Kind
the
of
stock
weird.
does rotate.
Anyway, I think that
I mean,
answered your
whether it's
question.
gonna keep rotating after that question, I don't know. We'll talk about it and figure out something though.
I mean, I thought it was weird that it rotated at all. I didn't know that was a thing to begin with. I tore to that. Okay, let's just clarify. Were they taken off? So they were only taken off that thing to rotate the stock, or did it have anything to do with getting rid of them? Period. So we can clarify that.
Oh, like if you still have them, you can still keep them. They'll probably rotate back into the stock, but
Okay,
I'll have to.
so their
Talk to Zero.
unavailable, so their current unavailability is
Currently,
because of the stock. It has nothing to do with getting rid of them.
as far as I know, yes, it's just
Okay,
a rotating stock.
got it.
That's why
Okay,
people still have them. Like we didn't ban them or anything.
okay. I just want to clarify that because I know that was a thing people have been wondering about.
And they are
And then
faster. Yeah,
Oh, they're by far the fastest thing on the server. People don't even use normal flight; they literally just use brooms.
and
You'll see,
that's probably
yeah,
where the
ma-
assumptions came from because nobody said anything.
yeah.
yeah.
Anywho, Toru says the Valdrun one only takes the vanilla fish, and every time I went to Fizzle Fuse, it had no coins to buy the fish. Nice, love that.
Okay, sweet. So we can fix both of those things. Um, yeah.
Thanks for tagging me because I wouldn't have seen that otherwise. Anyway,
Yeah, the money stock not coming back at Fizzle Fuse is just literally an admin oversight. And so's the missing the mod fish in Valdrun. So
all right. So, was there anything pertaining to the actual purpose of the meeting still left that we needed to address?
We've just been addressing questions at this point, as far as I've been aware.
yeah. And the document for the corruption will be released after the event tomorrow. It is done. And there are going to be some tweaks to the corruption, how it runs and how it operates. It's still going to have 5 levels just like it always did. It's still going to bleed off, but it's a lot more clear how you get rid of corruption. Mostly it's going to be based on time, but players have discovered other ways to bleed it off. And of course, if you're trying to get rid of corruption and you're trying to put together a ritual or go to a sacred site or go to on a holy quest or whatever to get rid of it, you can always put in player tickets for that kind of stuff.
All right. There was a question asked a little bit ago pertaining to when you mentioned the bunch of storytellers left beginning of the season before the season started, something like that. So what went on there?
I mean, we don't really want to give out names or point fingers or anything like that, but there was a really close group of people that was doing storytelling for us, and there was some internal conflict there. We tried to resolve it, but basically we weren't able to. And since they didn't want to continue, they all kind of left together. And I mean, that kind of stuff just sometimes happens, but at this point, we've got a lot more independent storytellers. So if we were to lose any of our teams of people, we have enough people to compensate for that. And we don't have like one big group of friends. We've got a couple pairs and singles, and like we're all basically friends with each other, but like we don't have a single clan in charge of any one thing that's so important that someone else couldn't pick it up. So internally, our structure is a lot different. So it certainly shouldn't happen again.
Anyway, I think that was mostly it. All right, so Lynn just made something. There were a lot of suggestions. Oh yeah, that was one that we need to address actually. There were a lot of suggestions in the threads for them that haven't been answered or implemented, such as okay, thirst and hunger we already went over because Kona's being Kona right now with that.
Yes.
I do remember there was mention of I specifically used Sandy, and when you would say we're looking into it, and then there was not any follow up message in those threads. So that should be pretty fast to follow up on those, to be honest. Being ignored.
Sorry. Most of the time we will go over everything. I think it's just bad communication to get back. We would either discuss it, come up with an idea that we can actually tackle it or can't tackle it, and it seems that we we just didn't put anything back into the ticket. We would normally tackle everything that I put in there. I you know, my statement might be a bit cold, but I do look into or at least have a conversation about the things that I respond to.
All right, we'll talk about that more after this then. Get that sorted. Resource vendors. Was the resource vendor supposed to be moved to using emerald coins instead of gold?
The
Yes.
resource vendor.
I don't know,
Yes,
that
everything in the it's everything in the underground was moved to the arena's money due to the fact that we wanted to bring more people into actually doing the arena. So we wanted that currency to go around to be somewhat of importance, making the underground a little bit more of its own little entity outside of requiring the queen's gold or
Yeah. And also, quite a few people have a ton of emerald coins. Like, I think there's way more out there than people might think there are. So you can always like buy, sell, trade, help people with player stories to get them. Um, wouldn't be a bad idea to, sell potions for emerald coins, that kind of thing. It's not really possible for us to monitor the standard gold, like the gold coins, because you can just go farm gold, and like people would have 100,000 in a week. So you can't really base the economy off that. And then the gold system we have in place, also people have just like tens of thousands of gold just from farming mobs. So to get things that are a little more special and to make the underground have a point, we just made it their currency.
now you're making me feel poor. Anyway,
Oh.
there was
My
a
character's whole thing is being rich and he's poor now.
anyway,
Alright.
there was a question from Astrid. Are more storytellers needed?
I mean, if anyone's interested in storytelling, for sure, put in apps. Basically, we take people based on how they interview, how they answer their questions. I put a whole bunch of questions together to kind of like suss out whether you're going to be a good fit for the team, that kind of thing. One thing I would say up front is that we prefer people to, like, if you're going to be a storyteller, we want you to be really committed here. So you can go and play on other servers and everything, but don't like be staff on another team, working your ass off, like creating content for someone else. Cause like we want people who are going to be here consistently. We want them to be able to continuously push the stories that they're writing and staying involved. So certainly if you want to be a storyteller, staff applications are open to everybody, and I'd encourage anyone who wants to be on the team to submit one.
Right.
But again,
Okay.
but I don't pick the staff. It's got to be approved by the high councils. So don't blame me if you don't get taken. It's not me.
The app takes like
Nice
5 minutes. The interview
recommendations.
takes like maybe 20-ish.
20, half an hour.
Depends. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
easy if you're a normal functioning person.
Yeah.
Normal functioning person.
And
Well,
like you can get through the interview in 15 minutes if you're quick, but generally we like, shoot the shit, try to like suss each other out. Try to, tell each other about like what we're going for, what we've done, the goals and things like that. You know,
and
it's more conversational, so it can take longer.
I'm not saying that in a meme way either. I'm kind of serious about that because if any of you know, I've been around the block the last year. I've seen some shit from some of these staff teams. I've seen things, man.
Well, how are
But
my interview questions?
yeah. Anyway,
Oh, now I gotta know. Now I gotta know. How was the interview? Was it good?
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Putting him on the spot like that. Damn, that's crazy.
I know, right?
An
No,
interview is
it's
fine if you don't
basically,
mind talking for about an hour.
yeah. I mean, none of them have taken an hour.
No.
Our longest one was 40 minutes.
All right. Anything else that's kind of big? Dude, I don't know anything about your app. I don't handle that. What are you talking about? I'm just a mod. I'm like 3 or 4 notches down the totem pole here.
Yeah, so usually I run the interviews with several members of the High Council, and either Khaleesi or Brink, because they're the server owner, will be there. And then usually there's kind of a little mini interview with Khaleesi. She just like chats with you, talks to you about what your goals are, and I don't know. It's quick. Usually it's like 5 minutes. She'll just do like a brief introduction.
They don't let me in the interviews because I say no to everybody.
Yeah, he just bans everybody who interviews. But no, yeah, usually I run the interviews with the High Council, kind of listening in and adding stuff as they need it, and then they kind of approve who gets on staff.
There is actually another thing related to that. When you deny somebody, do you tell them?
If
That
they've
is
done
not
an interview, I don't tell them. I just say denied.
Yeah,
No. Are
because
you talking about like actually when an interview goes through and they're not?
Yeah, it'd be
That-
after the interview.
They would have to be talked to. That would have to come up with Khaleesi.
Okay,
She
I'll
would have
mention
to be the
that.
one that, yeah.
because I don't do any of the approvals or denials or anything anyways. I just see like a green thing appear on their name, and I'm like, oh, they're staff now, cool.
I can say there's been more than one occasion where I've been let known that they didn't hear back one way or the other. So I'll kick that up the chain.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk too because I have brought that to Khaleesi as well because I know of one person who put in an app and did not hear back, which I don't know. I personally don't like, but we'll see. Maybe Khaleesi has reasons, or maybe she's just waiting. I don't know. Maybe there's something else involved that I don't know about.
Stay tuned for that, basically, and you know who you are when I spoke about that. Anyway, anything else super duper important as far as the server health is concerned that we have missed?
Or even anything you guys want to see going forward, anything you're interested in.
Because I am hoping that addressed pretty much 99% of the things, unless I missed anything. And yes, this year we did cover everything from our list.
Unless there's something else you want to add.
I don't personally have anything to add. I'm just asking all these people if there was something that we missed during this entire thing
Well, that's
that
what
was
I
super
mean.
duper
Yeah.
important. This man wants more naked dancers in the casino. What a surprise!
Oh, well, I guess
That's
my
not
perv statement.
that's not the first time we've gotten that request, and there are more than there were originally. But
Oh God, you actually did it! Oh Jesus!
So
that is
there was also
put in a ticket and ping 0 because
Dear
it's
God.
he runs the underground.
yeah, and then more male dancers were also requested.
Mm.
The Fizzle Fuse
Because
will
there's
pay you to not have male dancers for our own entertainment.
Well, whoever gives more
What,
money gets what dancers they require.
Oh, okay.
wait, so do you want a monopoly on male dancers, or
I phrased that incorrectly. What I meant was we'll pay you to not have any male dancers in there.
again, put in a ticket, ping 0 with any casino dancer related requests?
Yeah. I'm just skimming through the chat now, see if I missed anything. And then, obviously, for everyone who's already been pinging the shit out of me in that chat, if I missed something, please ping me and I'll read it out. Like a question that I missed, I mean. And if I did miss it, it's because I either read it and then had to read something else, or I literally just didn't see it to begin with. You want more fishing tourneys? You talk to Flux about that. He's the one who runs that.
And we do have plans for more fishing tourneys, maybe doing another auction, stuff like that going forward for those minor events.
I love the auction. That was fun.
Yeah, I missed the auction. I saw the recording. It looked cool. Oh, so Zero saying if you want more dancers, approach the underground person I see. So,
All
yeah, I
right.
saw the auction. There was an auction.
All right, we've gone once, we've gone twice. I'm gonna give you one more chance if we missed something for you to ping me and I'll read it out. But other than that, I
Oh,
think
and
we're good.
there's one
What?
more note I wanted to put in. Like, there are a few clans on the server that have kind of had issues role playing with other clans. And we just asked, like, if people
Oh,
come up
yeah.
and try to role play with you, just role play with them. I mean, even if your characters are enemies or what, or consider each other unfriendly or whatever, just make sure you're not shirking people off. Make sure you engage with them at least a bit. If you're not talking to them, explain why in RP and stuff like that. Like, try not to just ignore people who show up at your house or anything like that, because that has been an issue.
I know Red had mentioned this on more than one occasion as far as the lower popped clans or the solo clans get involved with things. So on our end of things, the solo people and smaller pop clans, they've gone mostly the route of doing things both through their tickets. I don't mean doing the RP through their tickets necessarily. I just mean like they've set things up through their tickets. So that's a good way. Like if we do forget or not forget, but don't end up getting the smaller folks involved, making a ticket is the best route. So we can very clearly see you want something to start happening or whatever. Because I mean, I don't know who all lives out there and is still active, and I don't know everyone on the server, obviously. So making a ticket would probably be the best route if we don't get to you purely in character.
Yeah, certainly, yeah, you can put in tickets for that kind of thing. Also, keep in mind that the leaders of Valdrune, Caldenry, and Etheria are all admins. I know that Etheria has a bad reputation because we're a bunch of edge lords, but like you're not gonna get eaten if you show up at Etheria or something like that. And we do try to spread the RP out as much as we can. Khaleesi's an amazing RPer. She loves to engage with as many people as she can. She does get a little busy sometimes in RP. Um, Haddock's been dealing with some real life stuff. Um, so he hasn't been as active as he wants to be, but he's been trying as hard as he can, and he's trying to be as available as possible. And then with Pi, I mean, I don't want to get into that necessarily, but find out on Saturday what's going to happen in the story. Because there are a lot of big developments tomorrow.
Sandy and Chili, you want to elaborate on when you guys are going back and forth about the beastkin thing?
Yeah, I can. So every injured shift has its own particular speed to it. You know, cats are faster than the dog, blah blah blah. Werewolf form is a much harder thing to adjust or give higher speed due to the fact that some werewolves can just auto attack across the map because their auto attack doesn't really take much. So you have to be very wary on trying to make them as fast as the cat. Uh, so they are going a little bit faster than natural walk. I believe they're like 105% or 108% or something like that. I can look at it again, but it's where it's at due to the fact that the way they attack and the way they move and the way balancing works with shifts. Werewolf and some of the odder ones that are bigger by bipedal or have odd attacks that move forward and uh, have range to their movements and things like that.
Who was asking about that originally? I already
It
forgot
was
the name.
Vaktu. Vaktu was asking about werewolf shifts being movement speed on
Log2,
them.
did that answer what you were asking? Or he's typing.
Several people are typing.
No, I saw his name. He's
Half the
there.
people are talking about Irving still. So
Yeah, okay, let's not get into that right now.
yeah, I can.
You're all good, man. You're all good. Yeah, sorry, doing military press and type between sets. I'm gonna assume that means yes. That answered your question then.
Yeah, and I know at least I don't teleport on people. I always teleport outside of their bases because yeah, even just walking up to people's houses, sometimes there's some slapping.
Lovely.
Yes.
Anyway, veering
And keep
off
that
of
shit, keep that stuff in your DMs.
we don't need to talk about it at all. Actually, to be honest, it's not
Yeah. So it's plastered all over our rules.
it's they just brought up beaming. We don't need to even talk about it right now. Was there anything at all else? Because there's another. I have something from Narrander for the end of this. So if there's absolutely nothing else, this is more for you guys. Let me read it again real quick. Give me a moment. What would you wish to say to those that have rolled out to make them come back, if anything? I'm just reading it as it's written. It's not necessarily make them come back, it's just convince them to come back, basically. What would you want to say to people who have rolled out that you want to try talking into coming back for the rest of the season?
I mean, basically the biggest issue we're having is our team wasn't big enough to address a lot of issues, and we've resolved that. And we're just going to try to put together the best story we can for you guys with the help of you, obviously, as the characters. You guys are the heroes. You guys are going to determine where the story goes. And yeah, I mean, anyone is always more than welcome here. Like, we don't have to force you to play here. Like, if you're not having fun here, then, I mean, go play Space Marine or whatever gives you joy. But yeah, we are trying our best, and yeah, we just want to give you a community where you can tell your stories and have fun and enjoy yourselves, make a lot of friends.
Yeah, as a team, all we can really say is we're sorry that it wasn't enjoyable for you. We're hoping to turn it around. We will try harder to make it a place that you feel comfortable and that the team is giving you a good experience in this game of chaos and Conan's greatness.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even say trying. I think as we've outlined out, we do have things in place now to address the concerns that you've all brought up, and we are trying to correct the things that you guys didn't like that may or may not have driven you off.
Well, and that's another thing about having the bigger teams that obviously in the future, like as you run a server like this, there's always going to be things that continuously come up basically forever, as anyone who's been in an admin team knows. Um, so yeah, we're much better equipped to deal with those things. Um, and yeah, we just hope we can do a good job going forward, and hope you guys enjoy playing here and try to give you the best story we can. We put in a ton of stuff with a whole bunch of new content, and yeah, we appreciate everybody who stuck around. That's for sure.
I will say also that those of you who know me, you know that I absolutely despise soulless, insincere corporate speak that some places employ in their announcements, and these guys they're actually changing shit around. I mean, it took a little nudging, but they're changing shit around. They're getting it done. They're fixing the things that need fixing, slapping around the people who need a little
Well,
slapping.
Lorna also makes a really good point. One of the reasons I've stayed on House of the Dragon is because I've RP'd with 3 different large groups for a very, very long period of time, probably about 4 years. And the same issue kept coming up, which is new servers open, people want to start something new, like, all of us are gamers, we're all a little bit ADD. And so people jump ship, and it makes it really hard to continue RP when all the people you RP with leave. But I mean, I've decided to settle at House of the Dragons. Now that I'm part of the staff team, I'm really invested in seeing the best server we can possibly run. People have been cycling out, but we've also gotten a bunch of new people recently. So yeah, we're hoping that we can just make this place the most enjoyable place we can. And yeah, if people jump ship for other servers, lots of them end up coming back. People test the waters in a lot of different places, but collectively as a community, if we make this one of the best places to role play, it's no problem that people jump between servers in the end of it, because that's just kind of how role play goes.
To be candid once more, as far as the other servers opening and all that, initially when a couple others opened like a few weeks ago, we were thinking that might have contributed to the loss of pop, but then we started looking a bit inward and we found the issues that needed fixing, and now we're here today, put it all out on the floor for you to take it in, whatever we're saying, and see if you think we're being sincere in what we're doing here. So
Yeah, and Wild, you do make a good point, and we have spent a lot of time trying to address that. So, a huge part of our team is just basically there for storytelling to push the proper narrative so that people aren't confused and thinking 10 different things are happening when it's really just one. And that has been a huge focus because the misinformation, I think, was the biggest complaint we got. So, and we're going to try to be as clear as humanly possible in tickets. We're in chat with each other all the time, making sure everybody's on the same page. Our documentation is all much better now. Over the last couple weeks, I've been working on things as I've been out of town, and yeah, we have a lot of great people on the team. Like we just got a whole bunch of really good people.
The pieces are set now; they just fall into place, and hopefully that makes for a good server in the end. But other than that, I think we've kept everyone here long enough for an hour and 40 minutes, or 2 hours and 40 minutes. No, hour and 40
Hour
minutes. Yeah.
Hour 40, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to go take off, I mean, I would be willing to stick around and answer questions if anyone had anything else. But I think we can call that adjourned.
Yes, sir.
All right, love y'all. Have fun in RP. Let us know if there's anything you want. There's a suggestions area as well. You can always throw stuff in there. Yeah, you're always welcome to ping us in the whitelist chat if you have general questions and stuff like that. Just try not to overdo it because, I mean, we do have a server to run.
And just so you all know, you are all banned. Okay.
Nice.
And I'm not going to tell Sandy he's banned because the last time he did, he banned me from the HotD Discord.
Yeah, I had to give him all his rolls back.
Dear God, I have so many fucking DMs right now.
Someone's
Did you get my
popular.
picture? Did you get my picture, DM?
I hope not.
I thought I'd seduce the new guy.
Dan report for sex harassment. You know how it goes, folks.
I'll answer that ticket.
Fuck. We've investigated ourselves and found nothing wrong.
Well, that it's normal behavior.
But I am gonna dip out of here for a short bit and then catch up back with you guys later.
All right.
It's fine. No problem.
All right, take care.
Yeah.